All right, Nick, let's talk about the Miami Dolphins, the offseason Dolphins trying to get better in this latest move they have made. I think under the radar, really, but is going to be very impactful for the team as well. Before we get into that, I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, as I alluded to, kind of an under radar move. I don't think many people would have given this too much of a passing thought, but this is going to be a impactful move for the Dolphins nonetheless. Let's get into the article and we'll talk about it more on the other side. This is from NBC Sports. The Dolphins have found a new special teams coordinator per Tom Pelissero of NFL Media. Miami is hiring Craig Ackerman for the role. Ackerman, 48, last coach in 2023 when he was Titans special teams coordinator under Mike Vrabel. He has served as special teams coordinator for all of Vrabel's 6 seasons as Tennessee's head coach. He was previously a special teams coordinator for the Chargers in 2016 and was an assistant special teams coordinator for Tennessee and Jacksonville. I think this is a great move. This is a solid hire for the Dolphins. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this one, Nick. But before we get to you, Dolphins fans, in the comment section below, let us know, what do you think about this move? Is it something you really even saw yet? Is it something you're thinking about? Special teams coordinator? How impactful could it be? Let us know what your thoughts are on this one in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what do you think about this latest move for the Dolphins?
I really like this move, and I know a lot of people don't, especially fans of the Miami Dolphins. They see it as uninspiring. A lot of people looked at Darren Rizzi out there and say, hey, that is the prime target. But I always feel like special teams coordinators, you want them to be a little bit under the radar. It's one of those position groups. You don't want a big, sexy hire. You don't want a guy to come in and try and do crazy stuff, especially if you've got a talented team, which the Dolphins obviously do. You want a guy to eliminate the bad, eliminate the mistakes. And if you look at the Miami Dolphins last year, they were second to last according to PFF and special teams grade. That ain't going to get it done, obviously. That's terrible. If you look at Ackerman's last 2 seasons with the Tennessee Titans, he finished eighth, 2023, tied for second in 2022. And every single year he was with the Tennessee Titans, we're talking about 6 years as a special teams coordinator, his special teams group finished above average according to PFF. The one exception is 2020, the COVID year, which I kind of give everybody a pass that year. A lot of funky, crazy stuff was happening, obviously. So Ackerman's a guy who knows how to coach special teams. Did a lot of great things with Mike Vrabel. He had that one disastrous game where his team gave up a couple block punts. And look, it was a disaster, and that's the reason he lost his job. It was a bad Titans team that Mike Vrabel got fired at the end of that season anyway. But now, how good do the Titans look with everything that's happened since then? So I think this is an opportunity for the Dolphins that kind of capitalized on the fact that Ackerman is a quality special teams coach that was kind of scapegoated for a lot of the final issues with the Tennessee Titans, who, as we've seen in the coming time since they fired Mike Vrabel, they're just a bad franchise. Low talent, poor coached, undisciplined, poor owner, poor leadership. Across the board, the Titans are bad right now. So it really wasn't fair to make Ackerman the scapegoat, which means he's still a quality coach, which means hire him, bring him into the fold. And look, he doesn't need to be the most creative guy in the world. He doesn't need to do all these funky fake punts or anything like that. Just go out there and play good, solid, fundamental special teams. Because one of the problems I've seen with the Miami Dolphins, and I'm sure Dolphins fans, you guys can relate, they seem over the past couple of years to make it too easy to give up. It's not the disastrous. It's too many 15-yard punt returns. It's too many kickoff returns where they're bent back down inside, pinned down, excuse me, inside their own 20, where they make life harder for themselves. It's not a lot of disaster, but they have to do so much more on offensive defense because their special teams has been below average. If you get it above average, you save the defense a first down. You give the offense a first down's worth of yardage. Things get easier. It doesn't seem like much, but it can really make a big impact. I think this is actually a really good hire by Mike McDaniel and the Miami Dolphins leadership. Now, look, they've done a lot of things that haven't been good this offseason. There's a lot of concerns with this franchise going forward, but this isn't one of them. This was a really strong hire by the Miami Dolphins, and I think you hit the nail on the head. It's an under the radar move, but a great one.
Yeah, Nick, and I like the point you bring up about not having to be flashy. Because there are guys in the special teams department that are flashy. Name that immediately comes to mind for me is a guy that I've seen over the years, John Fossil. He does a lot of crazy stuff all the time. He's always a guy, to pull out all of the stops. And it's like you said, that is not what the Dolphins need right now. They're, let's say, 31st, 32nd. What's the difference? They're the worst team in the league in special teams. You don't need some, rocket scientist guru to come out to make you better at special teams. You just need a competent coach. And bringing in a guy who's going to get you back to basics, help bump you up, that is what you need. You need to be a team that doesn't lose because of your special teams. You do not yet need to be a team that is winning because of your special teams. You just need to get to the point where you're not losing because of your special teams. And I think a guy like Ackerman can get them to that baseline. Now, once you get to that baseline, once we get the offense, the injuries back under control, once we get the defense a little bit better than 17th in the NFL, I think we're to a point where we can start to talk about, all right, let's throw in some crazy fake punts, fake field goal, try to do a lot of wild out of the box stuff. But right now, all the Dolphins need is to have a little bit of normalcy to this team, bring everything down to baseline. We need to stay out of the headlines. No more Tyreek Hill headlines. It's not what the Dolphins need right now. They need more guys like Ackerman who are going to keep this team level headed and baseline going forward. I think this is a really strong move by the Dolphins, and I think it's going to help them be much better than people think next season.
Well, I think the Fossil comp is really important because he's a big name guy that does a lot of the fake punt kind of things, and everyone remembers success because it gets on the highlight reel. And oh, look at that! It bought them a victory. But if you look at the Cowboys last season, great example of this. There were a number of special teams just debacles. There was a fake punt against the Atlanta Falcons in a one-score game. They ended up losing by one score. If they actually punt, there's a good chance they win that game, right? They also had a debacle where you had a guy on special teams didn't know the rules and touched the ball after a blocked punt, ended up being a turnover, ball to the Cincinnati Bengals, cost the Cowboys the game. So everyone remembers the highlights when you got a flashy coach at the special teams position, but no one seems to remember the lowlights that cost you games. I like special teams coaches personally that are just good, fundamentally sound. Pin teams down, pin teams back inside the 20, get outside the 20. Don't do dumb things, avoid dumb penalties. Let your talent on offense and defense take care of the rest. That's what Ackerman's known for. I think it's a really strong hire here by the Miami Dolphins.